Right, so Mark Gurman's given us a bunch of tidbits on this year's iPhones, and so let's delve into everything he says, but first, make sure to like and subscribe for the latest Apple news and rumors, and with that being said, let's just tuck in. Right, so Gurman for the most part is reiterating and confirming information we already know about, which isn't a bad thing because Gurman is very reliable, and so when he says that something is happening, there is a very strong chance of it being true. Right, so the report begins with Apple apparently ordering their suppliers to make more iPhones this year because Apple believes with the COVID-19 vaccine rollout, there could be additional demand for the iPhone since everyone is slowly going back to their normal lives, and so yes, Apple is preparing for the high demand, and they're making 90 million units already compared to the 75 million they usually do. So yes, much like other reports have said, this new iPhone should carry on the super cycle that begun with the iPhone 12 series. Anyways, moving on to the iPhones themselves, Gurman says it should be a pretty incremental update this year with the iPhone focusing on the processor, camera, and display improvements. Now, some might think that because Gurman says it's going to be a pretty incremental update, this has to be the iPhone 12s instead of the iPhone 13, right? Well, Gurman did say the iPhone 13 might be more likely because iPhone 13 just sounds way more substantial than iPhone 12s, and that's what matters to Apple at the end of the day because even if the upgrades seem minor on paper, they've got to be perceived as a massive refresh to average consumers, and so iPhone 13 works way better in that regard compared to iPhone 12s. As for the size options, it should be the same as the iPhone 12 series. So yes, the Mini does live on for another year, and of course, we should see these iPhones in September, so yes, the iPhone returns to its normal release schedule. Anyways, moving on to the displays, Gurman says that at least one model should get LTPO, which enables ProMotion and the variable refresh rate. Now, it is pretty interesting that Gurman says that at least one model should get 120Hz, and so that could mean the Pro Max is the only one that gets 120Hz, though I doubt that because all the other reports have said that all the Pros will get 120Hz, and so yes, I think Gurman's being vague on purpose, and so don't worry, we should see 120Hz on the iPhone 13 Pro and Pro Max. Gurman also mentions that we should see something called IGZO, which stands for a bunch of scientific words that I don't know the meaning to, but anyways, this allows for improved efficiency and responsiveness. So yes, hopefully this means that there should not be a massive impact on battery life with 120Hz. The next thing Gurman says is that yes, the notch is getting smaller on this year's iPhone, and to be honest, I've been skeptical of this rumor because for the longest time ever, we've been hearing about the notch shrinking on the iPhone, and of course every year the notch remains the same, and so I thought the same would apply to this year's iPhone, but I guess not because Gurman does confirm that yes, Apple is working on a smaller notch, and essentially they're moving the earpiece to the top, and that allows them to shrink the notch ever so slightly. Now, to be honest, I never had an issue with the notch in the first place, and so really the only thing that would excite me about a smaller notch is if we get the battery percentage back on the top right of the iPhone because I do miss that, and so yes, hopefully Apple does bring that back with the iPhone 13 series. Right, so moving on to the cameras, Gurman says that we should see advanced video recording features with the iPhone 13 series, and then mentions we could see better optical zoom on this year's iPhones. Now, in terms of the video recording features, I think that's referring to portrait video. That's been long rumored, and since FaceTime does have portrait video built into iOS 15, I think it makes a ton of sense to bring it over to the camera experience on the iPhone 13 series. I also think there's a strong chance we could see Pro modes with the iPhone, so it gives you deeper controls and really helps you fine-tune your photos and videos. And as for the optical zoom, I do want to say that I don't expect anything radical because we're not seeing periscope zoom on the iPhone till next year. So the iPhone 13 series are pretty much using the same sensors as the iPhone 12 series. And in my opinion, I think what Gurman means is that the iPhone 13 Pro is gonna get the 2.5 times zoom option available on the iPhone 12 Pro Max. The final tidbits Gurman says is that number one, the A15 should still be very similar in terms of layout to the A14, which does make sense because it's going to be a 5nm plus process compared to 5nm with the A14. But of course, we do know through previous leaks, A15 should be on par with the M1 when it comes to performance, which is kinda insane. And finally, much like Ming-Chi Kuo said a few weeks back, Gurman says we're not going to see Touch ID on this year's iPhone, and this is disappointing news because I was looking forward to the return of Touch ID, and so I guess I'm going to have to wait for the 2022 iPhones to get this feature. But anyways, that's pretty much everything Gurman says, but let me know in the comments below which feature are you looking forward to seeing with the iPhone 13 series. Anyways, thank you for watching, make sure to like and subscribe for the latest Apple news and rumors. Check out the video in the icon above about details on the iPad mini 6, and on that note, to see you guys in the next one. See ya, peeps.